Hi everyone, welcome to Tech Junkie Central. Today, we are diving into the Montech HyperFlow Digital. If you are considering the HyperFlow Digital for your build, or even your next upgrade, then you are in the right place. Montech kindly sent me this HyperFlow Digital 360mm AIO for review and testing purposes. I hope that the video is useful, informative, and helpful for anyone who is thinking purchasing one, as well as also providing Montech valuable feedback. The Montech HyperFlow Digital is one of the latest in their HyperFlow series of AIO liquid coolers, boasting a 7-segment readout to display CPU and GPU temperatures in both centigrade and Fahrenheit. Using the simple driver, you can simply and easily change between the two. It also features the new E28 fans for added cooling. Unboxing. If you like the style that the video is presented, then leave a comment, as this will help me to improve the content. Lifting the lid on the box, you will first find the manual, a further protective layer, before revealing the contents. I have added timestamps in the description for anyone that wants to find specific parts of the video for future reference. Fittings and fixtures for the installation. A tube of thermal paste and a spreader. The pump fixings, radiator screws and the standoffs. There is thermal paste already pre-applied to the cold plate for ease of install. It does come with fittings for both Intel and AMD sockets. The radiator and pump head are in a plastic bag, and it has a cardboard wrap around the radiator and fans. This is for added protection to the radiator fins when removing it from the box. I am just moving the fittings to one side, and will come back to explain them all when going through the installation. Whilst I am unwrapping, I would like to add that the presentation, quality of the packaging, has been very well thought about and should fill you with confidence about their products. The radiator already has the fans pre-installed. It will save you time and a nice touch from Montech. Now that it is unwrapped, take a minute or two to inspect everything to make sure there is no damage. Finding out after installing it means you lose precious time should you have to remove it again. Also remove the screen protector and again visually inspect it. Once you have done this, place it back on the display, as this will protect it whilst you are installing other components. There is nothing worse than finding out you have scratched it when you sit back to admire it. Unfortunately, this didn't come off as I planned, and was trickier than I thought it would be. I think a plastic cap, like the one covering the thermal paste, would be an easier solution. This would make it easy to inspect the display and then refit it prior to installing into the case. I noticed something that I want to be a little critical about. It may or may not bother you though. OCD moment is when the radiator is installed, the Montech writing on the side of the fan will be upside down. A little strange to say the least, when the writing on the actual radiator will be the correct way up. I think it would have been better removing the writing on the fans and just leave it on the radiator like the HyperFlow 360 ARGB, which I bought, tested and used for a while. Before I move on to installing, I wanted to thank Montech for sending products for review and testing. If you are here and have not heard of Montech before, then take a look around their website. There is a wide array of cases, PSUs, coolers, air and liquid cooling, fans and other products, with distribution in 40+ countries around the world and expanding every year. Installation. I like to offer tips and just practices I use when assembling computers. 25 years, you tend to learn by experience. My first tip is, once everything is unpacked, is look through and reference from the manual parts list, which is now available for download, and that you have everything before starting. Familiarize yourself with each of the items, then depending on if you are installing Intel or AMD, place the other items back in the box. Have a bowl or container to keep everything you need in it. Hardware. I always like to check the hardware against the parts list to make sure I have everything before starting. It only shows the AMD bracket on the list because the Intel one is already fitted to the pump head and the plastic cover wouldn't fit on the AMD bracket anyway. On the second page it shows images of both. I could see this leading to some confusion. Don't worry, as I will show how to swap the brackets over in just a moment and want to show you the rest of the hardware first. The next two brackets are for the back of Intel motherboards. The double-sided adhesive pads are to hold them in place whilst the pump is mounted. After removing the original screws, remove the top layer of the pad, line up the holes and press firmly to hold it in place. They are to keep the back plate from falling off when the pump head is mounted. Inscribed on each of the backing plates tells you which socket type they are for. For AMD, the motherboard backing plates are reused, and all you have to do is remove the plastic cooler brackets from the motherboard prior to installing the pump head. The AM4, the back plate will come loose, whereas the AM5 is fixed, and no reason for it to be removed. Swapping the brackets from Intel to AMD, have the pipes nearest to you, and then use your thumbs to push the bracket away as demonstrated. Slide the AMD one on until you hear the click, which indicates it is fully seated and aligned. Each of the bags does show markings for the socket/stroke backing plate they are designed for. Make sure you use the ones as per the socket type. Place them in the dish if you are following the advice. These will screw into the backing plate once installed. The others put back in the box out of the way for safekeeping. There is less risk of mixing them up this way. For AMD, there is just one type for both sockets. Again, put them in the dish. And the Intel ones in the box along with both backing plates for safekeeping. The crosshead spring nuts are used to secure the pump to the installed backing plate. The supplied 8 or 12 radiator screws, depending if you bought the 240mm or 360mm version, are to secure the radiator to the case. Coming from the pump, you will find 3 cables. The first one I will show you is the 9-pin USB 2.0 connector, and this connects to the motherboard's USB 2.0 header, which is usually located at the bottom of the board. The next one is the 4-pin PWM pump connector. This will be connected to a motherboard header marked pump or AIO pump. Finally, there is the 3-pin ARGB cable. This also has a daisy chain male connector for connecting other 3-pin RGB lighting. You will find it has a protective cover. This just pulls off. If you do remove it, keep it safe. The fans on the radiator are already daisy chained together. A single detachable cable ends with a PWM and a ARGB connector. Going back to the RGB on the display, you can plug this into the daisy chain and you end up with a single connection to the motherboard or hub once installed. Just to show you the daisy-chained cables on the fans, these are short and reduces the amount of cables that you would otherwise have to hide. There is only one extension cable. If, like me and you, use a controller instead of a hub, then this is far from ideal and I would need to source the proprietary cables in order to have the RGB different on each fan. If you are not aware of the difference between a hub and a controller, then watch my video on the Nolly ARGB controller demo. The link will be at the end of this video. For the purpose of showing you the connections to the motherboard, I'm going to use an AM4 motherboard. Using this board, I can demonstrate the Intel backing plates to further explain what I have said earlier. The other reason is I was due to receive the black version of the HyperFlow Digital, and that is due to arrive but not sure when. Also, the components I want to test the AIO against is my everyday computer, but a white one in a black case and components. Sends my OCD back into full swing. I need to remove the 4 screws from the stock cooler mounting brackets and remove them also from the board. This is usually better done when the motherboard is secured into the case to stop the board from sliding around. As you can see, and I should have done it before I started removing the screws and place something under the motherboard to protect the board and the work surface. This was where the top layer of the HyperFlow Digital packaging came in handy. When I lift the motherboard, you will see the backing plate as mentioned earlier. This is to demonstrate how the Intel backing plates would be installed if this was an Intel board. Unfortunately, I do not have an Intel motherboard to hand. If Intel are watching, I am open to reviewing, providing feedback, and testing if you want to send me some of your products. Wink wink. I need the AM4 backing plate, so when I secure the pump to the board, it's in place and ready. With the backing plate in place, you now need to use the AM4/5 threaded screws to secure it to the motherboard. Again, if you're using Intel, then use the ones that correspond to the socket type. If you didn't skip through the video and followed along, you will have these ready in the bowl. If you opened all the bags, mix them all up, have fun trying to work them all out and potentially using the wrong ones. I have been there and got the t-shirt. The screws want to be tight enough to keep it in place and prevent vibration. But we are not talking like a car wheel where your life depends on it. This will only lead to issues if you decide to upgrade your motherboard, send it back for RMA or any other reason, and can't remove the screws. I need to swap the bracket on the pump over to the AMD one in order to fit it to the board. Sorry, this is slightly out of view because of how I set the camera up. If you're watching the whole video, you will know and why I need to do this. If you skipped it, you need to go back to 6:45 in the video and watch it. This is why you should watch the whole video and is usually why people end up with problems. Keep the cables away from the cold plate with the pre-applied thermal paste. Getting it on the cables and not realizing will make it a fun job later cleaning it off. Place the pump onto the bracket and give it a quick firm push, and it may hold down whilst you add the spring nuts. If you get to the last one, and it doesn't appear to screw on, then go back to the other 3 and loosen them off slightly until the last one does screw on. Tighten them down until they become tight and add about 1/4 of a turn or maybe slightly less. I do wonder if this is where and when pins on the AM5 and Intel boards are being damaged from over-tightening them. So when you tighten the spring nuts, do it evenly in a cross pattern. Just before I connect the PWM, ARGB and 9-pin USB 2.0 connectors to the motherboard from the pump head, I will just show you the headers on the board and where you connect each of the cables. Because of lighting, I took still photos to explain it better, and if you do not have a labeled pump or AIO pump header, I will explain where you should connect the 4-pin PWM connector. Here is another tip for you. Have the motherboard's layout diagram to hand. You will find one in the manual which you can download and usually is in the first 10 or 20 pages or so, but looks like this. The 4-pin PWM connector, as you can see. This will fit to the pump fan 1 header on this motherboard. Also note the CPU fan header as well. This is where the fans on the radiator will connect to. Also in this photo you can see the system fan header 1, and you can connect it here or any of the other system fan headers on the motherboard. Just a word of caution. If you are connecting the pump to a system fan header, then make sure you note which one you have used, and then once you are in the BIOS fan settings, change the fan curve to run at least 80% to 100% from 0 degrees. You want the pump running at a constant speed from when you power on the computer, and not the system fan header settings by default, as it will follow the default curve. The default curve is to make the system fans quieter when idling and then ramping up as the temperature increases. The 9-pin USB connector. The usual place on the motherboard where this is located is at the bottom and slightly right of center. Before connecting it, first look at the connector and then at the header. One pin is missing on the header and the same pin on the connector is blanked off. Make sure you have the orientation correct before attempting to connect it, or you might bend the pins. Last but not least, especially if RGB lighting is important to you, is the ARGB connector. This 3-pin connector is connected to the ARGB 3-pin header or hub. The ARGB header are again labeled different on different boards. Reference the motherboard's diagram I said to keep handy to find the name and where they are located on the motherboard. Do not try or attempt to connect a ARGB connector to a RGB header. These LEDs have different voltages and you could damage or blow them, or even damage the motherboard. As mentioned earlier, it also has a daisy chain male connector. You can use this to connect the one from the fans before connecting it to the motherboard. If you don't use it, make sure the protective cap is on it, as there is a positive pin which could short circuit if accidentally touched against the case or other components. I have speeded up the video whilst I connect all the cables. I will also remove the protective display cover as well. Here goes, powering up. A new board untested, so wish me good luck and come along for the ride. Don't be alarmed if there is no temperatures showing on the display. You will need your operating system installed and the driver installed before you will see anything. I first noticed that the RGB around the display was a little dimmer than I expected it to be. I know from other reviews this was mentioned, and there is no brightness options. This could be that turning up the brightness may distract from reading the temperatures, and that is my best guess. Maybe Montech will use this as the reason why it is set like this, haha. I am wondering how bright this will be through the tinted glass of the Montech King 95 Ultra case, which is pretty dark. The other reason could be because of the tinted display. The radiator and fans. A quote from one of my favorite actors in a review.
Details matter.
Answers in the comments if you know who. The material used for the radiator is aluminium, or if you are in North America, then it is aluminum. Lol. Just a joke, I know that you know what it is. Aluminium has more aluminium than aluminum. The fin stack has 240 fins per inch. Should I count them to make sure, or should I take their word for it? 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I think I will take their word. The tube length is 400mm, or in old money, 15 3/4 of an inch, as near as damn it.
Details matter.
Okay. 15.748 inches. They are braided, and to be honest with you, the most flexible tubing I've had on an AIO liquid cooler. Or that might be just me. They feel nice to the touch. So, a plus point to Montech from me. Moving on to the dimensions. And no, this will just be metric. Sorry. The length of the radiator is 397mm. The width of the radiator is 120mm. And the depth is 27mm. The combined total of the radiator and fans is 52.3 millimeters on the 360 AIO and should fit any case designed for a 360 all-in-one liquid cooler. The 240mm will have the same width and depth, but the length of the radiator is reduced to 277mm, for obvious reasons on only having two E28 fans. The E28 fans, other than the display on the pump head, it's the one thing I'm interested in testing more, and that will have to wait until I have it mounted in the case and can fully test them for noise and performance. Just to give you some details on them, the CFM cubic feet per minute is 95.08, which is impressive. The maximum fan speed is 2200 RPMs. The static pressure is just 4.01 H2O. The FDB bearings increase the life and also reduce the noise. When powering on and hearing the fans for the first time, I found them to be near silent. We will see when I get the chance to run them at full speed and hear the full speed noise. The fan dimensions are 120mm by 120mm and 28mm thick. After removing one of them, I found it to be very sturdy, have noise dampening rubbers on the corners to prevent vibration. Unlike many other fans I have used that just have a thin sticky pad that is stuck over the body, Montech has come up with a removable rubber corner. This provides more rubber than hard plastic for the mounting, and no doubt this reduces vibration and noise. The fan design has been really thought about and not about reducing the cost. Securing the fan to the case, I'm using the diagram from the manual for ease of explanation, and at this point I haven't fitted it to the case yet, so I have no photos or video to show you at this moment in time, for reasons already explained. It is a good time to give the video a like and also subscribe to the channel. That way when I release the video of fitting it, you won't miss out. The best way to fit the radiator to the case is lay the case on its back, with the top facing you. The case in the diagram is the Montech King 95, which has a removable radiator mounting plate and allows you to remove it. Fit the radiator where space isn't an issue, and then lower it in from the top. Now is the time to grab that bowl that you placed the screws in. That is, of course, if you took my advice. If not, good luck in wasting time now trying to find them. For the 360, you will have 12 flat-headed screws. It is as easy as following the diagram. I will give you a few tips. Have 4 of the screws ready and put one in each corner, but don't tighten them yet, as this will hold it in place and you have 2 hands again to use. Then screw the other 7 in, but not tight. I heard the sigh even this far away. I was playing with you and there is indeed 8. You have to be up early to catch me out. On the 240mm version, you will only have 8 screws, as per the diagram. Same principle, just 4 screws less than the 360 has, so don't panic if you only have 8 and not 12. The display. I would rather use my own images and videos, but needs must, or so they say, just to explain the display as part of this video. There is a 9-segment screen for clear, concise readout. At the time of assembling my latest PC in the King 95 Pro, and then not long after suggesting to Montech that it was a shame that they didn't have an all-in-one with a display, as I would have purchased one. And now 9 months or so later, the HyperFlow Digital was released. It's not often manufacturers listen. The readout shows the unit of measurement in both centigrade and Fahrenheit. Now, most people only use centigrade for measuring CPU or GPU temperatures, but some people might understand Fahrenheit more easily, so it's there for those who do. The display will also display the GPU temperature also, and there is a bar on the left, and this is a quick and easy reference to increasing temperature should you hear the fans kicking in. I would rather like to see both CPU and GPU as one. It would have been nice if also the bar on the left was coded to the fan speed of either the CPU or GPU instead of being linked to the temperature. Maybe that could be a simple line of code in the driver that could be changed and give you the option to change it to your own preference on updated drivers in the future. Hopefully Montech will take this on board for updated driver releases. The driver is very simple to use as it is basic and doesn't need to be complicated. It will be found in the taskbar on a Windows operating system. This leads me into something that could be annoying. If you are playing a game in full screen, then you have to come out of the game to change the display reading between CPU and GPU or the other way around. It would be nice to see a macro option, where you could choose a key on the keyboard that you wouldn't use normally and allow you to swap between the two. Prices and conclusion. I will not talk over the text other than to say, I see no reason why you wouldn't want to purchase the excellent value HyperFlow Digital from Montech, and also pause the video if you need a longer time to read my conclusion.